Hello, welcome to AnaJet Training Tutorials, Part 1, Removing a Background from Photoshop and Making a Transparent Background. A lot of times you're going to get your files from a customer, or you'll have files of your own that have a white background to them. If we're going to print those onto a dark shirt, we're going to need to remove the background, so we end up with just the image and not a big white square. So what we're going to do is open Photoshop up, and we're going to go to File to open up our file. And what I'm looking for here is Test Tiki image. I'm going to open this up right now. As you can see, this image has a white background to it, and we're going to want to remove that. If we print that onto a black shirt, like I was saying before, you're going to end up with this big white square. So we want to get rid of it and create what's called a transparent background. First thing I do with any image is I go to Image and then Mode, and I want to look at the mode and see if it's an RGB color. The AnaJet requires all your images be in RGB color for the best color representation. If it is CMYK, what you want to do is select RGB, click on it, and then it will change it to RGB. Next thing I do in Image is I go to Image Size. This is going to tell me the width, the height, and the resolution of the image. The most important part about the resolution is that it needs to be relatively high, somewhere around 300, 150 to 300. The lower the resolution, the worse quality image is going to become, and the less you can adjust it and make it bigger. So this is 300. I make all my images around 300. So this looks good. So we're going to hit OK. You always want to check these things with your image before you start, so you have an idea of what type of quality image you're working with. Now the next thing I'm going to do is go over here, and if you see the background here, the background has a lock on it right here, which means it's not going to be we're not going to be able to edit the file. So what I'm going to do is right click on it, select Duplicate Layer, OK. Now I have a duplicate copy of this file without a lock. I'll select this one with the lock, click on my trash can, and it will delete it, and I'll click Yes. Now we're ready to remove the background in our image. What you want to do is go over to your eraser tool in the toolbar over here, left click and hold it down, and you'll see three options: Eraser Tool, Background Eraser Tool, and Magic Eraser Tool. At first you might think Background Eraser Tool is what you want to use, but it's not. We want to use Magic Eraser Tool. So select that. Up here you'll see Tolerance. What the tolerance does is it will take out a higher amount or a lower amount depending on the amount of tolerance you put in. So a high tolerance will remove, let's say we have a white background that fades into a little bit of a gray, it will remove that if it's higher. I usually keep it around 32, and that's the default value, and that seems to work pretty good with most images. So let's take our magic eraser and go over to our image, and we'll click on our white background. As you can now see, it's disappeared, and we have a transparent background. And that's what we want for printing onto dark garments, or whenever we're using white ink. You'll also see, though, that there are a few spaces here that were left because the magic eraser only removes white up to a border, so I only remove the white up to the edges of this image. So I'm going to go into the image and click on these other white areas I want to remove, and you will see now we have an image with a transparent background, and that will work great on any type of garment that we're going to use white ink, especially a black shirt. Now I want to see what it's going to look like on a black shirt. So I'm going to go over here to Layer, New Fill Layer, Solid Color. And I'm going to click OK. What this is going to do is create a background color for me so I can preview what my image is going to look like on a black shirt. And wherever I click is going to be what color background is going to put on there. So I'm going to click on black and click OK. As you can see right now, I just have a solid black square. If we look over the layers, I have color fill, which is my black square, and background copy, which is my image. So if I click on background copy, with my left mouse button and then hold it down and drag it up. I can now drop it on top of this other layer, and we now have a preview of what our image will look like on a black shirt. I'm going to go back over now. I'm going to delete this color fill because I don't need it anymore. I just want to use it for a preview. You can also use it to look and see if there's any areas you might have missed of white of the background that you didn't take out. You can go in there with the magic eraser and then remove them. If you notice here, you'll see that there are eyeballs. What these do is turn the layers on and off. So if I click the eyeball, it turns this layer off. I'm going to delete this layer now. So I've highlighted it. Click on my trash can. Click yes. It's now gone. Now I'm going to save my file. So I'm going to go to File, Save As. I'm going to keep the name Test Tiki. I'm going to save it as a TIFF. It's already selected as a TIFF, but I want to show you. You're going to click on your drop down, go down to TIFF, and select TIFF. In here you see the layers is selected. What that means is it's going to save all the layers that you have over here. So if you have an image that you've been creating that has a lot of layers, you've been adding text and other parts to the image, they'll all be different layers. If you're going to go back and edit that, then it would save the layers. But I'm not going to go back and edit this. So I'm going to click the layers off to save it as a copy. It'll give me a lower file size. Up here, see image compression, none, LZW, zip, and JPEG. If you select none, you're going to get the highest quality of the image with no compression. If you select LZW, it will compress it, but it's a lossless compression. So the image stays really good, and the file size is a lot smaller, so I usually use LZW. Pixel order interleaved is usually always selected, and that's why I want to keep it. Byte order, it's IBM. I'm using a PC, so I want IBM. If I was using a Mac, I'd select Mac. The most important thing is save transparency. You want to make sure this is selected. If it wasn't selected, we'd have a white background thrown on there, and we'd be back to square one. So I'm going to click Save Transparency. It'll tell you that many programs don't support a transparency with TIFFs, but I never really run into that problem, so I'm just going to click Yes and OK. And now I have a file saved, and now I have a file ready to print onto a dark garment. Thanks a lot. This is the end of part 1, removing a background and creating a transparency in Photoshop.